Okay folks, welcome to mographplus.com. Now in this first section and in this lesson basically we're going to be talking about how basically to have this animation of Rubik's cubes and how to go about it. I mean it's really not going to be that hard, and especially I try to make it as simple as possible for this lesson and show you a very easy way to achieve this kind of interrelated motions. You can see different animations and motions, and definitely it is going to be kind of easy, kind of hard, but the way we're going to be walking you through in this lesson is going to kind of be very simplified, and it's going to be really easy to everybody to understand it. The first thing about the whole workflow is that if you take a look at this design here, we have two different types of cube. We have these simple cubes which are very simple, and these complex cubes that are made up of a lot of pieces. Now the way we're going to be doing this is we're going to be working with absolutely simple cubes, and we're going to animate them, and when the animation is done we are going to be able to simply replace those simple cubes with these complex cubes. But while we are animating those, we're going to be using just very simple cubes. So let's go ahead into Cinema 4D and start kind of working and see what we are going to be able to do. So the first thing, I'm going to create a cube, and I'm going to my object and reduce its size to something like 190 centimeters, and Control and Enter. Perfect. And then we're going to enable fillet and go to something like 2 centimeters for the radius and 5 for the subdivision. And then the next thing is to basically go ahead and actually convert this cube. So I'm going to hit C. Okay. I'm going to hit C and then go to my MoGraph menu, hold down Alt and click on the cloner. We're going to be changing the type from mode to grid array, and we're going to something like 390 centimeters. Perfect. So that's what we have at the moment. Okay, great. The next thing is to go ahead and actually we can simply go ahead and convert this cloner to be a simple object. But before that, I'm going to my layers and create new layers. Let me just change the color to something a bit more like this, and I'm gonna rename this to extra. I'm going to create a copy, so Control and drag, and then Control and drag this copy into my extra layer and make sure it's not visible in my viewer, renderer, or my manager, so we can reference back to this cloner if we wanted to. The next thing, I'm going to hit C on this cloner to convert it. So here, there we go, and now we have our cloner and our 27 cubes from 0 to 26. Perfect. Now I'm going to Control and drag this cloner, and this is going to be our cloner. Let's go ahead and actually rename this to converted, and also I'm going to have another original version of this guy, so converted. Perfect. Let's go ahead and Control and drag this guy to my extra layer too. So here is our cloner, and the first thing is to do is to make sure, if you take a look at the cube, they have different axis points, and the pivot point for our all of our cubes is different. What we're going to be doing is make sure that all of our cube have the exact same axis point and pivot point, which is 0, 0, 0 on X, Y, and Z. So let's go ahead and select our first cube. I'm going to enable my axis tool here, and in my coordinate manager I'm going to type down 0, 0, 0 and hit enter, and I'm going to do this for all of my cubes. So there we go, the second one, and cube 3, and this is going to be very important to be able to do that animation. I mean, the way I did it in my original design was completely different from this, and it was a lot of rigging and espresso involved just to make sure I have an absolute control over it. But doing it that way, you know, it would take forever really if we wanted to do it that way. This way is much more simpler, and we can really go ahead and create whatever we want. So let's go ahead and do this. So I'm gonna zero out all of my 27 cubes, so they have, there we go. Let's go ahead and do this for this guy for number 17. But the fact about this method, it's gonna break, it's possible to break at any point. I mean, at some point it's not gonna be possible to continue the animation because of the gimbal problem that we are familiar with, and in that case we're gonna be you know, finding a solution. Always we can think out of the box and find solutions for different situations, and I'm gonna show you that solution after the problem appears. So let me go ahead and zero out, and definitely the problem appears whatever you do. Sooner or later, I mean after 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 motions, it's possible that we see the problem. And let me go ahead and zero out these guys. There we go. I'm just going to check them back again and select these guys and take a look at these positions here. So make sure there are 0, 0, 0 for all of them. So I'm gonna click on my down arrow here and make sure they all are 0, 0, and oh, this one we forgot. So let me go ahead and make sure 25, 26. And then if I select all of my cubes, as you can see, their axis point is exactly at this point, which is 0, 0, and 0. I'm going to disable my axis point, get back to my viewport, and start working on our animation here. Perfect. So let's kind of change this cloner name maybe to something like controller or maybe master. Okay. And there we go. Now we can go ahead and start the animation. So I'm going to kind of have about 8 motions, and each motion will be happen in 20 frame increments. Now, as I said, this lesson is just, I'm going to try to walk you through the basic concept and the way that we're going to be doing it, the workflow basically, and how to kind of have this Rubik's Cubes puzzle and those motions happening. And from the next section and from the next lesson, we're gonna start the basic, the main motion design that we have, and different ways that we're gonna be doing this. But let's go ahead and start the animation. Now let's go ahead and start the motion here. So let's go ahead first of all and start the cubes from here. So I'm gonna go ahead and start them, select them here. So it's gonna be kind of easy. There we go. As I said, I'm gonna go and have about 8 motion. Each motion will be in 20 frame increments, so we're gonna be needing about 160 frames. So let's go ahead and type 160, and let's start working. The first thing is to make sure I'm gonna select all of my cubes and then control click on my master. If you middle click on your patterns, you can see all of the children will be selected. So I'm gonna go ahead and then control click on the master, so it's gonna be deselected, but we have the cube selected. So let's go ahead and set a keyframe. We are just going to animate the rotation. So let's go ahead and deselect the position and the scale, and let's set a keyframe. And then I'm going to frame 20, and then let's select these cubes from this side here. So there we go. Very simple. Perfect. Now let's go ahead and animate them maybe this way, about 90 degrees. I'm going to set another keyframe and then select all of my cubes and set a keyframe for them too. And then I'm going to frame 40 maybe. And now let's go ahead and select maybe this upper section here. So let me go ahead and select all of these cubes. Perfect. And if I move them left or right, nothing's gonna happen. So let's go ahead. There we go. So let's go to frame 40. I'm going to select my rotation, and let's go ahead and rotate this about 90 degree. Make sure it's 90 degree. Let's set a keyframe, select all of the cubes again, and set a keyframe for them too. So now we have first, second, and let's go to frame 60, and let's this time go ahead and maybe rotate this middle column here. So let's go ahead and select this middle section. So let's go ahead and just make sure you have the right selection. Perfect. And now we got 1, 2, frame 60. Let's go to frame 60 and maybe rotate it this way and set a keyframe. Select all the cubes and set another keyframe. So there we go. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. And then I'm going to frame about 80. Okay. And this time let's go ahead and maybe rotate this bottom section here. So let me go ahead and select all of that. Just hold on Shift and select these guys. Perfect. And make sure you have the right selection. And then I'm going to rotate them this way. Perfect. Set another keyframe and then select all the cubes and set another keyframe. So we still have no problem, which is perfect. Now, okay, just make sure you have set a keyframe for all of this at frame 80. I'm gonna go to frame 100, and this time let's see. So we have these guys, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to frame 100 here, and I'm going to select these guys here maybe, and you know what, let's go ahead and actually select this part so we have another motion on the banking axis. So let's go ahead and make sure we have the right selection. Let's control drag, there we go, and let's go ahead and see if we can rotate them. So about frame 270, there we go. Oh, you can see it breaks at this point. So we can, if you take a look, hit play, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, so here basically the rig basically breaks, and the solution here is, as I said, we can go ahead and really go talk about a lot of rigging and espresso to make it work, but it's going to be very, very complex and really beyond the grasp of this course. And always I'm trying to make things as simple as possible, so you can really do complex jobs, and always think out of the box and try to find simple solution for your complex tasks. So what I'm going to be doing is to delete these guys. So let's go ahead and delete those. And what I'm going to be doing is create another set of these cubes. Okay, so we have our first set. So let's go ahead and master 0, 1. I'm going to here maybe, let's go to frame 0 back. I'm going to control and drag and create another set. So master 0, 2. Okay, so 0, 2. And let's go ahead. I'm going to go to select everything here. And at frame 0, I'm going to delete every keyframe on this. Okay, so basically now we have another set of keyframe, which another set of cubes which has no motion. Okay, so I'm going to these guys, the animation finishes at about frame 80. So I'm gonna, let's go ahead and hide these guys. I'm just going to type in up to 80. So there we go. For our second master nulls, we're going to set a keyframe for all of the cubes at exactly at frame 80. If you take a look at the values here, you can see everything is basically 0. Perfect. So we're going to set a keyframe for them. So let's go ahead and set a keyframe. I'm going to frame 100. And then I'm going to select these guys, these cubes here. There we go. Perfect. And let's go ahead and maybe animate them again. So frame 100 here. Let's go ahead and -90 degrees. So let's set a keyframe. select all of the nulls and set another keyframe. So there we go. And then let's go to frame 120, and I'm going to, you see this? So there we go. And let's go to frame 120. Now let's go ahead and maybe select this upper section this time. Just hold on shift and make sure you got all of the cubes selected. Perfect. And so we have this. And let's go to 120 and see. There we go. 90 degrees. Set another keyframe. Select all of your cubes. There we go. So let's go to frame 140. And this time, let's see what we got. Okay, I'm going to 140 and select this section here. And it might break at any point. I mean, it might break after 2 movement, after 2 rotation, or after 1 motion, or you know, or after 5, 6 motions. I mean, so let's go ahead, go to 140. So we got this, 140. Let's see if it's gonna work or not. It's working yet, and I'm gonna set a keyframe here. Select all of my nulls and set another keyframe. Perfect. And let's go to frame 160, and hopefully this is gonna work too. So let's see. 160. Perfect. So I'm going to 160, and maybe let's see if this guy is working. I really hope it breaks. You know what? Because I wanna show you the complex solution. Not the complex solution. I just wanna make sure if it happens, you know how to solve it. But if it doesn't break, we're gonna be just working on these 2 sets, and I'm gonna show you how to kind of add more sets if you wanted to. So let's go ahead and set another keyframe and select all of the cubes and make sure. I see it kind of breaks. You see, it kind of breaks. At this point, it's kind of break. So let's go ahead and add another set of keyframes. So let's go ahead to here. I'm going to Control Z a few times. There we go. And okay, now we're going to be adding another set. So I'm going to go to frame 160. Let's go to 80 to 140. Okay, 140. And then we're going to create another set of these guys. So Control and drag. I'm going to select everything, get back to frame 0, and I'm going to select all of these keyframes, delete them, and here is our third set, which is going to be 140 to 180. Let's give it 2 motion at least. So let's go ahead, get back here. I'm going to select everything and make sure it's all the 0 out. And if you select this, guys, you can see. So let's go to 140, and then I'm going to select these guys, and let's go ahead. I'm going to select this middle section here. So hold on, Control. Okay, we got this guy selected. There we go. So let's go to frame 140 first of all, and let's go ahead and set a keyframe for these guys. There we go. And let's go ahead and increase this guy to 180. And there we go. So I'm going to go to 160 and rotate these guys. Sorry, let's go ahead and select them again. So there we go. Perfect. Great. There we go. Let's go ahead and rotate this guys maybe 90 degrees, and then select everything again and set a keyframe, and then go to frame 180, and let's see what's gonna happen here. I'm going to select these cubes here. Okay, perfect. Just rotate and move them, and There we go. Let's move this guy. So 180. Let's move them maybe 90 degrees here. Okay. Or maybe 180 degrees. So okay, 180 degrees, and set a keyframe. Select everything. I hope it didn't break. So yeah, it did, and it's quite weird because we kind of did some weird motions. So let me go ahead and kind of do this thing over again. I'm going to select everything. I'm just going to actually Control Z a few times just to make sure. There we go. So we have this. It's working fine. So let's go ahead and maybe this time I'm going to select these guys here. Okay, move it. I'm going to frame 180. And let's go ahead and rotate them. There we go. And select everything. Oh, it breaks. It breaks very quick this time. You see? So we can add another set, but I think 8 motion is enough. So let's go ahead and just Control Z. There we go. 160 would be enough here. So perfect. Now, so there we go. Just 1 motion for this 3rd set. Now, how are we going to kind of blend these guys together? It's going to be kind of very simple. We're going to add some keyframes. So if I select this first null, it's going to be up to 80. So I'm going to my basic, and I'm going to frame 79 here. And let's go ahead and turn these guys on. So this guy is going to be on default. So I'm going to turn and visible in editor and visible in render. I'm going to animate them. And then I'm going to frame 80 and going to turn this off, okay, and set another keyframe. And then at frame 79, the second set is going to be turned off, and at frame 80 is going to be turned on. So let's go ahead and just change it to default. There we go. And for the 3rd set is going to be it's going to be up to 160. So let's go ahead and go to frame 140, 139. So that this second set is going to be turned off at frame 140. So at frame 139, we're going to add 2 other keyframes. Go to frame 140, and let's go ahead and turn them off. Okay. Sorry, there we go. Let's set a keyframe. And then I'm going to our 3rd one is going to be off at frame 139. So make sure it's off. And at frame 140 is going to be turned on. Okay. So now we're going to be having a perfect solution. Let me just save the scene here. Okay. Let's go ahead and hit play and see what we're gonna get. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So as you can see, we got one. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 motion. Okay, perfect. And we have blended them together. Now another very exciting problem here is obviously we are not going to be working with just these simple cubes. We are going to replace these cubes, and it's going to be kind of hard how I'm going to basically parent, for example, if I want to have a sphere here instead of this cube, how I'm going to parent this sphere to this cube, because this cube is its existence is up until frame 80, and from 80 we have another cube from our second set replacing this cube. So let me show you what is the problem here. So I'm going to take this cube as a prototype here. Okay, so let's come down here, and this is cube number 24. Let's see, I'm going to have a cube that is closer to let's see, this is our cube number 6. That's perfect. So let's go ahead and work on this cube. I'm going to just quickly create a sphere here. Okay. And let's get the sphere up and running to where we want. I'm just going to put it maybe about here. Let's go. And its exact position is going to be -195, because 195 is our key number here. So -195, and I'm going to increase its size. Okay. Now I can go ahead and parent and make this sphere to be a child of this cube. So it simply would be like this. Okay. So if I go ahead and hit play again, you can see this sphere is actually going to work, but from frame 80, as you can see, because we're changing the set, basically we turning off the sphere and we're replacing this cube with another cube in our second set. So how are we going to solve this problem? I'm going to solve this problem using the constraint tag. So let's go ahead and get back here to frame, and let's frame default here. So here is our cube number 2, and let's see what we're going to do here. Here's our sphere. Perfect. Now let's go ahead and add a constraint tag to this guy. So I'm going to right click on this character tag, and we're going to add a constraint. Okay, perfect. And the type of constraint is going to be parent, and we're going to parent, and the first target, this is the sphere at the moment, is 195, -195, -195. So it's basically okay, that's gonna be good, but I'm going to kind of putting it in here at the moment. So let's go ahead and make sure the y is 195. Okay, so the cube 8 is gonna be what we're gonna be working with. Okay, so let's go ahead and this is our cube 8. Perfect. Let's go ahead and work on this thing. So the cube 8 is gonna be the target. So let's put this cube 8, and this is gonna be from frame 0 to frame 80. So I'm going to frame 79 here. Okay, set a keyframe, and at frame 80, okay, where we basically change the set. Now you can see our first set is disabled, and we have our second set. And if I select the sphere and come down here, you can see it's cube number 26. So we're going to parent, let's go ahead to our constraint tag here, and let's at frame 80 we're going to be replacing our cube number 8 from set 1 to cube number 26 from our second set. So let's go ahead and animate that, and this is gonna stay up to frame 140. So I'm going to frame 139 here. Okay, and let's see, I'm going to animate this thing, go to frame 140. Now we have our third set basically enabled, and this is the cube that we are interested in, which is cube number 24. Okay, so let's go ahead and select this guy, and we're going to put our cube number 24 in here, animate it. Perfect. Now as you can see, if I hit play, we are going to, let me just save the scene here. If I hit play, you can see the sphere is gonna stay perfectly, and it's gonna be perfect. You can see, very great. And I can go ahead and make this sphere kind of a bit bigger. There we go. So you can see it's much more simpler. There we go. And we have our sphere completely integrated with our 3 sets of cubes. Perfect. So basically this is the workflow that we're going to be using, and I don't know whether it's simple or complex, but this is the simplest way that I could come up with, really. My original design was a lot of rigging and espresso, and it was really confusing, but this is very easy because you know, it's really easy. I mean, you just animating some cubes, you just need to have some things in mind, and if you find it complex, just go ahead and rewind and watch this lesson again. Now from the next section, we're actually going to start to basically work on the motion design and see what we're gonna be doing, and hopefully after a few hours we're gonna have a very awesome and complex motion design. So see you there.